the encroaching jet age, and they realized the existing buildings they had were not going to be sufficient for what was coming. So there was a major effort launched, led to what was one could call the most creative airport terminal design activity in aviation history. Now you'll learn all about the details of this at the theme building, but it produced a master plan, and then the start of the development of the terminals that you know that are still here. And the first jet came through in 1959. The first commercial jet landed here in 59. So imagine all through the 50s there were still prop planes. One of the main architects involved in that original master plan was William Pereira, who remained involved in Pereira and Luckman. And he remained involved in further airport development, both in the mid-60s and then in the early 80s, when they did really the latest major expansion where they added a second deck and so forth in time for the '84 Olympics. So when we turn on to Century Boulevard in a minute, what happened in the 60s really was the development of Century Boulevard, or the redevelopment. And the first thing we'll pass on Century Boulevard on the right, after we turn, is what was known as Carolina Pines International, which was later Carolina Lanes, and then later Carolina West. And when it was first built in the early 60s, it housed restaurant, lounge, cocktail lounge, 24-hour bowling, banquet rooms, the whole bit. But they rapidly saw who their clientele was, and by early 65, they were having, you know, topless bathing suits being modeled by their waitresses. So, and the sign Live New Nudes was here from then until August of 2009, and it's slated for demolition now. Now coming up on the left will be the World Way Postal Center, which was built in late 60s. It opened in 68, and with its mechanized machinery, from its time it could handle 3 million pieces of mail a day. And it's still the place where you can like bring your tax returns, the last open place to receive the tax returns on Independent on April 15th. And on the right will be the Marriott Hotel, which this is it, which is from 1973. And you can see that's some very groovy 1970s features, the curved balconies and lines and so forth. And it was recently rehabilitated, and I've been told it's really lovely inside. Now starting here is the Airport Center, which is a 30-acre major commercial development built through the 60s, overseen by Welton Beckett and Associates, who also did the Capitol Records Building and the Music Center. And they developed with Del Webb, Tishman, and McCullough Motors these variety of buildings. The ones that are white are pretty much the original buildings, and there have been some infill added. So you have buildings like the McCullough Building in 64, the International Hotel, which is now the Radisson from 64, the Airport Century Building from 68, and so forth. Now, as we enter the airport coming up, you'll see the original control tower, which was a 12-story building, 172 feet. It was completed in 1961, and it served as the main traffic control from October of 62 until April of 96, when the new air traffic control tower was built, which is a little bit further to the west. The new one is 22 stories tall and has the arch at the top. The old one is still in use as the airport administration offices, and you can see it just coming up on the left. And you'll hear about the full development of the terminals here, the various architects involved, as part of your theme building tour. And LAX is now the 6th busiest airport in the world. It handles more than 60 million passengers a year on still what is only about 3,400 acres. In comparison, Dallas-Fort Worth, which is the 7th busiest, has 18,000 acres. And Denver, which is the 10th busiest, has 34,000 acres. So we still manage all this on a very compressed area, so you can know why there's constant efforts to expand. And as you probably heard a couple weeks ago, the LA Board of Airport Commissioners approved over $1 billion of construction contracts to improve, expand, modernize the Tom Bradley International Terminal. So over the next couple of years, they'll be adding security checkpoints, customs and immigration, ticket counters, commercial areas, and also 9 new gates to handle the new supersized jets, which are coming into use. So those you'll be seeing built over the next few years. But as you'll see, as you'll know, the real icon of LAX has been, and will continue to be the theme building, which we're about to let you off in.